my girls? And where are my boys? So we're going to be talking about leadership today. And I will need you to pay attention. And just for emphasis, you could look at me, you could look at that, you could look that way or this way. But I want to connect with you. So lead yourself first. The nation called you. What does that even mean? But before we start, could you do something for me? So look to the person sitting next to you. I don't know. Look, go ahead. Look at them. All right. Now look back at me. That person you just looked at, they are a nation. And you are a nation too. You are the nation called you. And here's the thing about nations, they all need leaders, right? Strong leaders, accountable leaders. But don't get too excited. Because one thing they do not tell you about nations is that as a leader, you cannot lead anyone else if you haven't first led yourself. And that's what we're talking about today. So let me take you on a journey. As a child in primary school, I thought I was organized, very organized. So I'm the first child of my parents, and my parents ensured everything had its place, and I was pretty good with keeping things where they're supposed to be and just being organized generally. And then I got into secondary school, a boarding school. Some of you cannot relate to a boarding school. I got into a boarding school and I became a mess. I was losing things left and right. My soap vanished. My buckets would disappear. My towel, I don't even know where that usually ends up. I was struggling. We would go long distances and fetch water and carry that water on our head and come back to the hostel. But before you knew it, someone under your very eyes, someone would take that water away that you have struggled to fetch. So I felt like, what was the point? I was failing. I was struggling. I felt like everyone else had it together, but not me. I broke out, I would have skin infections. I still have some scars on my body because I didn't know how to take care of myself well in that new environment. I honestly was failing. And I struggled for 2 years, 2 whole years. But by the time I got to GS3, something changed. I got tired of being that girl that kept losing things, that couldn't get it together, that was, always just being lost. And so I decided to take responsibility for myself. I started to pay attention. Before you take my water, I have an eye everywhere. I became smart. There's a difference between, and this was me who was an A student, but there's a difference between book knowledge and life knowledge. I started to take responsibility for myself. I got tired of being that person who was constantly losing things, who couldn't keep it together. And guess what? By the end of SS1, I was one of the only 3 people in my year who became a prefect. I became the male prefect. I was responsible for distributing letters to students from the post office. A lot of you cannot relate. All you know is Snapchat. But then we literally will have to walk to the post office, collect letters from our parents, and bring back to the students. And that was my job. And then in SS2, I was appointed a prefect again. I was appointed this time the health prefect. Wait, let that sink in. Health prefect. Someone who could barely keep herself clean some years back. Someone who used to have infections, who will lose her things. I was now responsible for taking care of other people and their health and hygiene. I will go to sick base, ensure they're okay. I will check their uniforms, their inner wears, their dormitories. That was because I decided to lead myself and stop being a victim of my circumstance. And so, I'm asking you, why do you think this cannot be you? Why do you think you have to be ready? Why do you think you have to be a certain age to become a leader? You can become a leader now. And I wasn't doing anything special. I was just doing what other great leaders do. The prophet, peace be upon him, before he prophethood, what did he used to do? He used to tend to sheep. He was trading and buying and selling, but he was really honest. They called him Al Amin, beautiful character, trustworthy. He was a leader first before Allah saw him worthy of making him a leader of nations. Now, a lot of you know Malala Yousafzai, and you use her as an example. I think someone still uses her today. At 11, Malala was able to stand with courage. She chose courage over fear. When she was even being threatened, she spoke the truth. She decided to lead the nation called Malala before she started inspiring millions globally. Can you relate? Can you see how you cannot lead anyone else if you have not led yourself? So, what these leaders understood was this: God cannot entrust you to lead other people when you haven't led yourself yet. So, at Nurturing the Boy Child Academy, what we do is that we work with boys, talented boys, boys with talent, potential, steez. But a lot of them lack one thing: they lack the ability to lead themselves. And so when they walk through our doors, they come in not knowing who they are, not knowing their strengths. And when you ask them, what's your strength? They're like, I don't know. And you wonder, okay, what's your identity? Their identity is whatever their friends say it is that week. But what makes me excited is that we go through a transformative, life-changing process at our academy, and we start to see their faces light up. We start to see the transformation right before our very eyes. Boys who wouldn't take responsibility began to see that they had to take responsibility. It was in them all along. Boys who didn't know who they were, who didn't know their strengths, started to see that, oh, I'm actually good at this. I just needed a little push. They moved from saying, it's not my fault, Coach Amina, to saying, I'm sorry, Coach Amina, how can I fix this? And this just makes me so proud. It shows me what any child can become if you can bring out the leader in them. And so, at every point, I'm going to stop and ask you, what are you waiting for? That leader is in you. The nation called you. And so, before you can lead, you need three things. You need to know your identity. Who are you? What are your strengths, your weaknesses, your talents, your values? What do you stand for? Because trust me, if you stand for nothing, you will fall for anything. And what's your character? Who are you when no one is watching? Not when you're with your friends or your parents are coming. Who are you when you are alone? And then, for you to become a leader, you also have to become three things. And we're going to be using the acronym ACT, ACT, to learn what you need to do. Number one, you need to account for yourself. Account for yourself. Don't break the promise you make to yourself. So it's easy, especially these days, it's easy to say those things, but we've moved beyond speaking. We want to see you take action. So account for yourself, because your broken promises is you devaluing your own nation's currency. It was Stephen Covey who said, I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions. C, claim responsibility. Those boys who walk through our doors, they didn't understand responsibility. Where is your shirt? Oh, the gate man took it. The house help didn't wash it. My parents forgot. My brother tore my homework. Even those that didn't have brothers would use that as an excuse. But when you claim responsibility, you are able to say, it is me, and I am sorry. How can I make it better? And that is growth. Now, it was John Maxwell who said, a leader is one who knows the way, he goes the way, and then he shows others the way. Can you see how you cannot show without knowing and then going? Now, tackle hard things. This is one thing we struggle with. So the things that come naturally to us, we're fine with it. But those things that are difficult, we run away from it. But you need to tackle hard things, even when you do not feel like it. That is the commitment you're making to yourself. Because discipline equals freedom, even when it doesn't look like it. And so I want you to know, you are not just a student. You are a nation. The nation called you. So that messy room, that is your nation in chaos. Your unwritten notes, that's your nation you're neglecting. What of your excuses? That's your nation at war with itself. So why do you think you need to be a certain age? You need to be as old as your parents for you to lead. Look around you, there's so much darkness all around. Cybercrime, addiction, drugs, porn, disrespecting elders all around. We need you. We need youth with values, with morals to stand up and shine their lights so that that darkness will shift. And we do not need for you to be ready. We do not need for you to wait till you're older. We need you now. And so today, the question I'm going to be asking you is not, can you lead? I'm sure we've already established that fact. Yes, you can. Because I was that girl in boarding school who was struggling, who couldn't keep herself together, who was losing things and barely surviving. Yet, when I decided to lead myself, everything changed. And even after boarding school, I kept leading in university, even in my master's. I was always leading. I found myself in leadership positions and I never cowered. And today, I've been blessed to be a speaker, an author, and a leader who is teaching the boy child to find a way to lead himself first. Because he has a whole life, a whole nation, nations depending on him that he will need to lead. How does he lead when he has not been taught to lead himself first? And we expect leadership to fall on him because he's become a father. A father doesn't equate a leader. So can we see how much trouble we are in when we expect from the boy child what we haven't given him? And so, like I said, my question for you today is not, can you lead? My question will be, when will you start to lead? Because the leader inside of you, the nation inside of you, is crying out for its leader. And that leader is staring back at you in the mirror. Remember, to lead, remember you must act. Account for yourself. Claim responsibility and tackle the hard things, even when you do not feel like it. In all you do, just act, dear leaders. Because the nation inside of you, it needs you. It needs its leader, and it needs it not tomorrow, not next tomorrow, but now. Thank you.